bazubona bazukholwa banomona sathatha ichance thola imiliyo bheka manje siphethe uspidiyo sifuna amamili ngisazobuba bazobona banomona bebathi ngema
sanibonani bafethu namhlanje sise-Orlando SneakerCare Technicians for iScamtho. This is going to be episode 3 of iScamtho. So vandaag ngiphethe iGrootmani lizosibika khona nu isitshele ukuthi liwubani and then the topic yavandaag ukuthi zona yini sithathe from la mfowethu.
Yeah.
Shapanya
Great.
showcase yeah mfethe naba labantu bazele wena.
Sure.
Yeah, awubatshele ukuthi ubani kanjani usuka pha sibile sibangene.
Yeah, sure. Hola bafethu.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Rassik lona abaningi bangazi as Mr Ekse, Orlando West representative, Soweto, Johannesburg. Yeah, that's what's up.
Okay. So Mr Ekse. Mr Ekse is a graffiti artist, illustrator, designer, but I believe that you are from graffiti.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, is on correct graffiti. I see in the grand in terms of other people's eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But when we find out, we're gonna let us know, okay, what is it that people are missing about it, and what is graffiti, and when you started it, what inspired you to start graffiti?
Yeah. I mean, there's two things we must know about graffiti. Is that number one, it started in Africa. You know, so when you do graffiti, it's like you're doing which is like writing on caves and writing on like walls, and you know what I mean. So you are basically continuing that writing form of like telling stories on spaces and telling stories about ourselves and telling the history in a mural form. That's number one, right? And then number two, what you need to know is that graffiti is like a hip hop element. You know, it comes from the 9 elements of hip hop, but yet we all know the 4, and it happens to be one of them. And it happens to be a movement that was like formed by young kids from like New York that wanted to express themselves in trains, and it developed into like writing trains, and then they also started to write different neighborhoods, and then they wanted to see their names in different neighborhoods, and then it grew, and then it kind of like developed into this thing that what we call now graffiti and murals, which is like another kind of element of like the broken windows theory, that because these young kids used to live in a place that was like decayed, and they wanted like to turn that place into a beautiful neighborhood, so they started starting to do murals in around their neighborhood to kind of beautify their neighborhood, you know what I mean? So yeah, like in a nutshell, that's the foundation of graffiti, and we kind of took it from the hip hop kind of element, but it's still like, because we are African and we know our roots, we're still kind of connecting it with our heritage, and we took it further, we took it further, American stuff.
Yeah. Wow. Actually, me personally, I didn't even know it started in Africa, because me, I've always been watching Amachita or Guide. That's why I even got to understand that painting trains is dangerous. If you get caught, we are changed, So that's what I mean. I didn't know. I'm surprised. But obvious for now, so we can know.
I mean, yeah, yes, like, we took it like because we were young, you know. We didn't like know ourselves yet like that much. So when we took it as a vandal sport, you know. We wanted to write our names everywhere. We wanted just to, you know, to be known, you know. We didn't have like any knowledge of what to do with it. We just, for us, when we took it, it was like just another hip-hop thing. Yeah, you know what I mean? It was just like everywhere, like, you know what I mean? Like every night we went out with our homeboys. Shout out to like the whole TK crew, you know, Breeze, Jade, Dice, you know what I mean? Like that crew, they cats know, yeah, you know what I mean? We started like just writing our names on walls, you know? And then obviously, when we also grew, the responsibility grew that, you know, we could write, actually it didn't come from us in a way, you know, it became like the response of the community, which what is it that you guys are writing there, you know? And then we realized the response of the community is very important, so we started like also not just writing our names anymore, we wanted to involve the community, so we drew things that, you know, they could relate to, and then they were like, you know what I mean? Like, actually, yeah, you could use our walls if you're going to paint things like this, you know? And then we can relate. Yeah, because like that, we will realize, oh, actually, because therefore, if we paint something that is relative to them, you know what I mean? And also bring in that hip-hop graffiti element. And then it's like, you know, that's kind of like how our style kind of like grew, let's say, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're trying to see too the difference between a graffiti artist and an illustrator. Because I'm a graffiti artist, which is why even when you go into their profiles, you'll never see their faces or whatever. You know, all you know is their tags. You know what I'm saying? For the longest time, till today, but people know my pieces work and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And then you go to I'm an illustrator, a pillar free because I don't think they started on walls. You know, I don't know, but I don't think they started on vandalizing and all of that. So maybe you can take us down the difference between the two and the transition of graffiti artists being able to illustrate this craft. Yes.
I mean, as I said, we like started as vandals. We were young, you know what I mean. I was probably still in high school then. So when we started, like, I didn't even think that actually I could go to school and study arts. You see. So the illustration comes from the knowledge of having to go through the schools and having to got, you know what I mean, the qualifications. Because graffiti is one part, right? But you must also understand that graffiti is so broad that it needs you to be somehow accredited for you to get like the proper briefs or the proper assignments or the proper contracts. You know what I mean? So they need to see that you can do, or you know a little bit about what you're doing. So I decided very early, yeah, among scared, I'm going to know, man. So I was just applying my knowledge in the briefs that they gave us from school. You understand? Then just I excelled until I got myself to, you know, like Bachelor of Arts level. You know what I mean? So I even qualified for like a Bachelor of Arts just to show that, you know what I mean, like that it's not just the knowledge we have from the street, that the same knowledge we've applied also in academic, you know, spaces where you can get yourself like a diploma or a BA or, you know, any qualification just to prove with you know what, you know, you understand, now in Naxas, when you say actually I'm this value, you know what I mean, it's not questioned with you know, lo muntu uphumaphi
understand,
understand, like ayazi into ayikhulumayo. Yeah, so it was like all those things, yeah. So I was like, yeah, let me maybe, you know, get a qualification so that I can take it further. So yeah, I guess now I'm more than just a graffiti artist. You know, I do illustrations, I do logos, I do, you know, a lot of things. Like,
designing.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like multimedia stuff as well. I used to also study printmaking, funny enough, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, even printmaking was a good way of learning how to mix my,
the
you know what I mean?
craft.
Yeah, you know, my style into, you know what I mean? Like
put it into
also,
t-shirts.
you know what I mean? Because even there's mix vibes and silk screen, artist proof studio. For instance, they used to teach us how to silk screen. You know, and from silk screening, then you know I was like, yo, you know, how would I take it further? And put it on the t-shirt. You know what I mean? Yeah, and then it's just a mix of like the knowledge of silk screen and the knowledge of graphic design, and then you put that together. Boom. Yeah, so it's all those things.
Okay, and then with that said, more a graffiti artist, and then getting to be an illustrator and artist as a whole. Can you advise one to be in your set of career, which angakwazi ukuphila na? Which you can actually make a living out of this thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
Because some people see these worlds and then they just like, okay, I want my band, and then what am I gonna get out of this? The only thing I can do, I can be a doctor. I can't be now drawing, you know, just doing stupid stuff.
Not true. I mean, me, I've never worked a 9 to 5. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, I've never worked in an office. Just because I've been privileged to have studied and having to know this thing, you know. So this is my work, literally, like this is my 9 to 5, you know. And if you treat it like that, then your value is more. Because it's not just art, you know what I mean? It's like, it's therapy, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, if you have like an idea, I can bring it down to a paper so that other people can like get your idea, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's a communications tool, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a lot of things that, you know, a society needs, you know what I mean? We're like modern day artisans, if you can say, you know, we're like crafts, very important craftsmen that like the society needs. You know, without art, like there wouldn't be like signage. Without art, you know what I mean? Like there wouldn't be like symbols that, you know, people that believe in symbols, they wouldn't be able to communicate their beliefs. You know what I mean? Like for instance, just the simple thing like a cross. You know what I mean? Like that's an artistic form of, you know, like how a Christian perceives, you know what I mean, themselves. So just from like that, it becomes a symbol that, you know, that people use, but it was all from, you know, done by like Michelangelo. You know what I mean? Like someone who was an artist, you know what I mean? So like it's all these, you know what I mean? Like
so there's so much value into it. There's so much value.
And also it's very necessary for any community. No community can survive without artists. It's like having, you know, not having a plumber in your community. Not having like, you know, a doctor in your community. You know what I mean? Like, it's like necessary.
And then, I think what you see, the style of Sabo, Sipuma emotion. I think that's what you need to prove from because when I'm in town, I was with low chips, low exit, and then maybe you can still find Amanya Simi, that when you was what you're going to suffer and watch, unless you are as much issues. But even when you go and you chant that wall that you paint, you are born with the express and you're still on it. Even when you went to Brazil, we did the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So I want you to tell me, Guti, what is it that's in the thing? You just in the style like this. I wanna take it everywhere.
I mean, hip hop like taught us like very easy, like, you know, you can't fake it. You know, you cannot be an imitator. You need to be the originator. You know what I mean? So the originator comes from like that hip hop background. You cannot bite somebody's thing. You know, you need to bring your own. You know what I mean, to the table. So that's how I guess like our style developed. You know, we were like, okay, cool. Here is this thing, but yet, you know what I mean? Like, how do we fuse it with what we know and what maybe like where we come from? You know what I mean? So yeah, like it's just the fuse of those two. Like for instance, like, you know, an easy example is that like take our tribes for instance, like the symbols that our tribes use. You know what I mean? Like so that's why you find like now and then we would always like represent, maybe even in our characters and even in our like letters, we'd represent like our letters with a little bit of like that indigenous, you know, Ndebele kind of, you know,
for sure.
feel. You know what I mean? Because like that's, you know, that's who we are. So yeah, I mean, style, being original and being authentic is all like from like hip hop. You know, generation, like that 90s kid kind of mentality.
Okay, and then I'm sure we've got something here that we can play. Bazu was born and then we can take it from this. So maybe we can play something.
I mean, as you would know, because we worked with Shelf Life on this project and Converse, there was a mural that we did in the hood, but the cats just decided that, you know, we could have a video for us, you know, and just a small kind of like breakdown of where I'm from and what I do in like, you know, like a minute.
No, for sure we can do it.
Growing up in Soweto in the 90s, I was inspired by two things. Revolution and hip hop. Both involved making your voice heard. Both involved graffiti. From political messages to pieces in the back pages of magazines, I was inspired. The scene has had an impact on me. It's changed my life. It's more than just paint on walls. We paint reflections of ourselves and our community. It's a cycle. We gotta keep the scene moving. Yeah, I've been doing graffiti for 18 years now. And I feel like it's my responsibility to inspire the next generation. Yo, this is Mr. Ekse, representing Orlando West.
There's a whole lot of like white cats as well. And then there's you guys as well. So, now much of what is the balance there? Can be because I mean we know how it works, you know. So do you guys still stand a better chance of getting a much of, you know, especially now because you guys even get to be under agencies and stuff.
I mean, you know, okay, one thing is that we must understand that hip-hop has been like a very multicultural, all kind of races, appreciation kind of space from way back, you know what I mean? Like, so, like, we've like put that race card like
At the back.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Way back there, because like in our space, like we don't judge you from the color of your skin. We judge you from, you know, from your intention. You know what I mean? Like so. With that said, like it's difficult for everybody. You know what I mean? So the best way, you know how, like, is that you must build your skill level, build your portfolio level so good that, you know, it competes with like, actually we're not even competing with ourselves. We're competing with like people that are like in the media spaces, you know, like in the advertising spaces. And, like, you know, we're competing with like, yeah, those kind of like businesses that like, you know, will take a mural project, even though they're not muralists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They would take like a project that needs like a graffiti artist, even though they know, you know what I mean?
Some of us
You know?
will pay for instead.
You understand?
Yeah.
So like the battle is not with ourselves, because with ourselves we know, for instance, that now maybe Homeboy is good in the letters, maybe Homeboy is good in the characters. If the job comes through and they need letters and they need, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they
someone
collaborate,
needs-
you know what I
yeah,
mean? So
sure.
that's how it's been. Like
Yeah.
we've been painting together since Graph started, you know. So for us, like
Yes.
the I guess the competition and the, you know, where we compete the most is with the ad agencies, you know what I mean?
Sure.
With like the design spaces, like that's, you know, because they want to like keep us hooked up under the agencies, whilst they know that, you know, yeah, we don't belong in no agency. We are like an agency ourselves.
For sure.
You know what I mean? It's just that, yeah, they must realize that they're like, yeah, just talk to us direct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in terms of Ukusha, let's say, for example, the sponsor say in Newtown,
Sure.
like in Newtown Junction,
Yeah.
in Newtown,
Sure.
like in Newtown Junction,
Yeah.
it costing in terms of getting paint, spray cans,
Yeah.
now where you live
I mean, also you must understand, like the Newtown Bureau. First and foremost, we call it Joe Vandersburg. So Joe Vandersburg comes from the fact that Joburg is highly maintained by the street vendors in every street corner that are vendors. Or, you know what I mean? Like,
oh, so okay,
like
okay, now it makes
vendor
sense.
and vendor. You know what I mean? So that's why we call it Joe Vandersburg, because like we are like kind of celebrating the women that like feed us every day, keep us sustained, and like, you know, every street corner. So that mural, the costs were not much. You know what I mean? Like, because you must also understand, like, as I'm saying, like, we're dealing with like people that don't trust us. So when they give us projects, they're like, hey, can you do it? You know what I mean? So there's a big level of like trust that always goes, you know what I mean, unsaid, because like young understand. So it's like when they look at you, they think, this person doesn't deserve like, you know, $500,000 budget, or you know, $250,000 budget, because I don't know, you don't look like it. You know, whereas the work speaks for itself. So in most cases, like what we've managed to do is that even though the job doesn't reach the expected amount or the budget, we managed to make it work. You know what I mean? Like you get all your primary things that you will need to unlock, like your scaffold. You make sure that, you know, probably the other party handles that for you, you know, so it doesn't kill your cut. You know what I mean? Like whether it be a scaffold, whether it be like the jack, you know, the equipment, the lifters. You know what I mean? So you juggle it like that. You know, if you know that you're gonna need probably like a lot of spray cans, you know, you size it down. Probably use a lot of paint. You know what I mean? Like if you know the job will take you two days to finish quickly, you don't say you're gonna finish in 2 days because you know the budget doesn't allow you guys. So probably you'll finish it in 2 weeks because you know you'll be using all these like things that will make you go slower. You know what I mean? All these things affect it. So it also affects the budget in that regard, and then it ends up like being, you know, a situation where you wanna like take the job because you wanna like make and prove that, you know. And I'm better than, you know, anybody else that's been doing that. You know, and for the future reference to say that, you know, because I've done that, maybe if you look in the future, you know what I mean, you get a better thing.
The reason why I'm riding, please, one spot paint, shelf life, or promising me sleeping down. It's a 15 blocks. And I was like, how much it ends and if they're able to buy paint here 15 blocks, shoot the span, see what money. First time riding. So I was like, I'm dancing my board and so it's this kind of speaking part. Sure. That's all I riding.
I'm bet you bend the Saintino. If that's nothing, man. Like if you need like, you know, 50,000 rands worth of things, you know what I mean? They must give.
They must give.
Regardless of whatever. Things is expensive, you know, and our value is like increasing by the day.
That's true.
The experience that we gain, it grows every day, so the value also grows. So yeah.
And then who would you say you want to work with in the future? Like, it could be any brand, maybe. As in one day, Mangasha, Spanish garage, Nalaban Tabaso, Mashuta, as in Exeter,
Man, I guess for me, like, because I'm from like a certain place, you know what I mean? Like, we never really believed in like working for, you know. We always believed in working with, you know what I mean? So anybody that like that we work with in the near future, you must understand that, you know, we're working together. It's not that anybody is a hierarchy in, you know, in that position. So definitely like whoever's down with working together, like we can work together. You know what I mean? Like whoever's like open to finding like unique styles that's like from Soweto and like very original and like dope. You know what I mean? Like
for sure.
Let's work together.
And then your favorite artist?
Oh man, the list is endless.
Just one. This
because like as you know, you know what I mean? Like I'm from like different like, you know, worlds. Like I'm also from like the history of art space. I'm also from like the graphic design space, you know. I'm also from the graffiti world, you know what I mean? Like, you know, so like all these people, like, you know,
when they influence somehow,
But I mean, like for me, but I look up to people that do what I do the most, you know, like people like Joker, for instance, who's known as Mr. Cartoon. He does like he did like the tattoos for like people like Eminem, 50 Cent, you know, the whole nine. So like for me, Mr. Cartoon is like a very, you know, very influential, very inspirational kind of, you know,
person.
You know what I mean? And there's a lot, man. Different, you know, in different categories as well. Like, for instance, when I design T-shirts, for instance, you know, I will always look at people like Echo, Mark Echo, for instance, you know, and the type of you know, difference that they brought when they bought, you know what I mean? They are like design onto the game, you know. So when I look at like things like sneakers, for instance, I would probably look at like people like who's a perfect example, like Cause, for instance, who's, you know what I mean, like who's from like a graffiti scene as well, you know, and has taken that and has influenced, you know what I mean, like all his designs going forward, you know what I mean. And actually, like if you think about it, like there's a lot of graffiti that is being not said that has highly influenced like the scene, you know what I mean. Like for instance in skateboarding, you know, you would know that, like for instance, all these like brands that came up from cats that used to skate. And you know, and you know what I mean, and they used to do spray paint, and they used to do tags, and they used to do graffiti, you know. Similar brands like you know, Shelf Life, for instance,
Shelf
you know
Life
what I mean?
started with
You know,
graffiti,
Shelf Life started, you know what I mean, like from, you know, like
before the shoes, it was
you
just
know what
the
I
cans.
mean? It was just the cans. You could mention like who else? Like who else?
There's a lot. Pandas, much does skateboarding, you know?
Yeah. So there's a lot of this scene that is influenced,
A lot of things.
you know what I mean, and that is not like highly said.
Okay. Yeah, let's throw some questions to the floor.
Okay.
Anybody who's got questions, let's do that.
Mr. Ekse, I just want to know like what exactly inspired the name Ekse? Like where exactly did you get that? Because normally like Mosha Muti Ekse Machite is to get attention or is to pass on a greeting to say Senguli young thought. And so I just want to know from your side with Crenshaw, where exactly did the name Ekse come from?
In my, like, I grew up in El Dorado Park for a long time. I also schooled up there. So when I was there, the cats used to realize and recognize me as like, you know, as that guy who always represents for the people and always, you know, is the voice of the people. And, you know, I used to speak for, you know, for the guys, you know what I mean? Like anything that we came across, I would speak on behalf of everybody. So I guess that's what, you know, what up Mr. Ekse, they were like, you know what I mean? You are like, you represent us, you know, you're the perfect representation of the people. And yet at the same time, when I saw the name, I was like, as you mentioned, with the snap, you know, when you just drop the Ekse, everybody can relate, number one.
Yeah, for sure.
Number two, they know that you were saying something.
Sure.
You understand? So, and then number three, it's a kind of slang that if you not from around, you won't get. So I like that as well, that, you know what I mean? Not everybody will get it unless you know.
Understand what's
You know what I mean? So, yeah, Ekse comes from El Dorado Park, meaning basically like the representative of the people. And I took it from just Ekse being the name, and then I added Mr. so that it becomes the person. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah, so like Mr. Ekse is like my pseudonym, yeah.
You're right, it's nice.
Sure.
The ones that I want to focus on the most, it's the art space, you going to school to study for arts and you being a graffiti artist. So do you think those two, if I may say, elements like contributed for you to become the person that you are, or for you to get the recognition that you are? Like if I, for instance, aspire to just be a graffiti artist, what are my chances of getting the exposure that you got, since most of the graffiti artists, as mentioned, that they not known like physically? So if I want to be like just a graffiti artist, what are my chances of being exposed to getting like big jobs, etc., etc.? Or do I need like both elements, like you have the art space and graffiti, for me to be able to do like something for big brands, etc.?
Man, it's kind of both, you know. Social media, there was no Facebook, you know. So we knew from day one that we have to have a good portfolio, you know. And a good portfolio involves you having a little bit of extra knowledge in a little bit of everything, you know. So yes, it gave me an advantage having to have gone to school and had that added, you know, knowledge. But at the same time, like, if you had to take a young kid today that didn't have like any background on the schooling, but yet has all the social media kind of access, you know, you could probably be the same, you know what I mean? Because nowadays it's all in our faces, you know. It's just the discipline of the person. Uthi yena udedicated kanjani obangakanani uthi azenzele I1 without having to go to school, and first time, and having to build yourself without having any expectation. Uthi I'm building myself without having uthi I want to be like, or I want to work for, you know, because we didn't think like that when we started our stuff, you know. We built ourselves, not to say when you build yourself, you say, I want to, when I, you know what I mean, when I'm big, become like, nah, you know, you become yourself and everything else, just, it just evolves from there. Like it's, yeah. I don't know if that answers it.
Dunya Jingani from Mr Ekse. And then I think the question of Queen and this is Ushano. So make sure and shower on my question.
So after graduating from varsity, like, how did you convince your guardian or parents that like you wanted to do graffiti? Because you know, coming from a black family, it's like, you know, when you tell them you want to do this type of career, it's like, nah, bro, you wasted so much time at varsity just to do this. So I want to know, how did you manage to like convince them? See,
I'm still facing it till today. You must understand, man, this thing is like, it needs you to be very, very like humble, you know. If there's anything that will teach you to be humble, it's like the art scene, you know what I mean? Because it's not easy, like it's not easy. It's not for the faint-hearted. You could like, even my mother like has told me a couple of times that she's got forms for me to go affiliate at, you know, being a clerk or something at some, you know what I mean, somewhere, you know what I mean? Well, not now anymore, but you know, she used to tell me those things like when I was starting. But now they're more like, you know, understanding and more supportive. But when it started, man, it was not easy, like, trust me.
So are they supportive because they're seeing the results, or are they supporting because they like believe in you? Or
it's both. It's both. Number one, they were supportive when I was like, when I was nothing, you know what I mean? They've been supportive from day zero. You know, when even myself, I didn't believe I would do this. They've been always there, you know what I mean? I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for their support, you know, and their encouragement. And then the second part is just that it's not about anybody else, you know, it's about you. Once you know what you want to do, the next person is easy for them to understand that. Because when you're so hard-hearted at it, you believe it so well and you understand it so much that, you know, I don't need to ask you, Guti, you're going to go to do an office job, because I can see you where your passion lies, you see. So it's always been like that, yeah.
Alright, I Sthombe. Yeah, since those Falalo. It was a dope one, no lie. Yeah. And then Spitz, how much use of filters changing is Chuzana, Scone is Chuzana, locally produced, last drop juice. And Namatega was Sali, Minino Shamati, Matigi Milasali. And yeah, t-shirts as well from Mr Ekse, Soweto. Check that out as well. And then yeah, if you put on the senior spanning at Mr Ekse on Instagram. And then yeah, Snare Paranjar of showcase.
Yeah, siyabonga SneakerCare, siyabonga Mabhokisi bafethu, siyabonga abafethu patience yenu, and yeah, ukuthi nje sibe lana, yeah, to this point.
Sathatha chance uthola imiliyoni studio. Big manje spectro studio. Sifuna ama meetings
Futhi nyathele. Let's assistant web on my left.